Okay, so welcome to a little impromptu podcast of little Coity crystals on the road. We're going to have a little talk about nature. We are at the Riverfront, that's right, centre in Newport, which is, as you might expect, on the river. And we're just about to go into a little exhibition, which I'll get Lucy to talk you through in a minute, but I just want to show you the bunny. Oh. So, I've got Lucy with me, who is, Lucy, who are you and what do you do? just say the word.
Okay, I'm a Biodiversity Education Officer and Local Nature Partnership Coordinator in Newport.
So what we're going to do, we're going to have a little look round the exhibition, and Lucy's going to talk us through some of the local projects, and we're just going to have a little chat about the importance of nature. So this is it's there, isn't it? That's the little exhibition we're looking at.
Yeah, Newport Nature and People, supported by Bug Life and Newport City Council and some of our volunteer groups.
So, and that's the important thing as well, that all this has been done by volunteers, supported by various kind of nature groups. Where's the start? Where do you want to go?
Well, we'll start at the very beginning. We'll head over to this one.
Okay. It's a bit of a walk and talk, so bear with us.
Okay, so this is a display put together by the Tumps Conservation Group. So a little bit of background on the site. There's a green space site in an area called Barrack Hill in Newport, and the green space is surrounded by housing estates. So you can only access it through pathways, and you wouldn't really know it was there unless you are a local. Unfortunately, all the back gardens back onto the green space, which you would think would be amazing, but is over the last sort of, 10-15 years, it's been used as a bit of a dumping ground. So rubbish comes over the back fences, and it's created massive issues of fly tipping, as you can see here. This is the site here before we kind of got our hands on it.
Wow.
And this was like, we had some funding through the Welsh Government to start a project, so it's about nature recovery. So we took a good look at this site and realised there's a lot of potential here for nature, but not just for nature, but for people to access. And this was just before we were going into COVID as well. So, as the story progressed, that became a massive part of the story of the Tumps and the Conservation Restoration Group. So we started engaging with different agencies, created a multi-agency action group, local residents, housing associations, local police community team, Natural Resources Wales, Newport City Council, and anybody who's got a bit of a vested interest in this area. And we started to engage with them to discuss the wider issues and why this was happening and what can we do to start preventing that happening. Is there some engagement we could do with the residents to try and change the behaviour, basically, of this whole area.
Why do you think, what are the most important things do you think that's brought to the local community? Why is that connection with nature so important to them?
Definitely, like I said, this was just before we were going into lockdown, and I think it was a time when perhaps, people didn't necessarily know what was on the doorstep or value it as much as they do now. And I think we're so used to working and living in a world where everything is in front, rushed past us, and we're so busy in day-to-day life, and everybody's stressed with doing school run, going to work, doing this, doing that. But actually, these green spaces, when you go into them and you're looking at the landscape and you're seeing that space and you're hearing the birds singing and the crickets and the grasshoppers singing in the grass, it just makes you stop and breathe, and it is taking that in, and it's those moments of just kind of stillness and peace that becomes really, really important to people. And it's physical exercise as well. People they're not, they're picking up litter, they're doing bracken bashing. It's physical exercise. It's like a bit of a green gym. It's exercise by accessing a green space, not necessarily having to go out and pay a gym membership and that kind of thing. So there's different aspects of it. It's about physical well-being, but it's about mental well-being as well, and trying to create an environment that is nicer to access. It's better quality for people and for nature. I was with a group of kids in this room this morning from a local primary school that is very central to Newport, And I asked the children, looking at this rubbish, how does that make you feel? Now these were year 3 and year 4 children.
How old is that? I don't know what that is. What's that?
We're looking at about 8 years old.
Okay.
8 to 9 years old. And some of the words that they were coming out with were anxious and scared and disappointed. And these are kids coming out with that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, and seeing their faces as they were looking in shock and horror at some of the rubbish and what people have done to these green spaces. But then also we were talking about comparing our feelings with some of the nicer pictures. So the space here after the clean-up and after some of the work has been done, and sort of how does that make you feel?
So that's the afters.
Yeah, this is after. I've got some volunteers there doing some work. And this site alone, the community group have really engaged with, and we've got some really key individuals driving this group, which can be a bit of a risk when it comes down to individuals, but they've managed to really sort of engage the wider community. This is where they live, and they've taken the time to start recording all the different wildlife sightings on the site, and they've just in the last sort of 18 months they're up to about 400 invertebrate species.
Wow.
So that's 400 different types of insects, some of them really rare, living on this site that we didn't know was there before.
Yeah. And see what you mean about, it's not about the individual, it's community led. There's probably people that are more prominently involved than others, but it's a real kind of team effort.
Yeah, and one of the difficulties with this site is that there's loads of children involved, and some of the activity we're doing perhaps isn't accessible for kids. So it's like, how do we get kids involved? So we worked with another organisation called Bug Life and the local volunteers to kind of address that and ask, well, what does the community want? Art, drawing, everybody can express themselves through art. So we worked with an amazing artist called Tom Maloney, who has been fantastic through this whole project.
Is that where that image there is coming from?
So Tom created this image for the Tumps. So this is the view off the top of the Tumps, looking over the Civic Centre. You've got the bridges, you've got the churches there, and then you've got the River Usk in the background. But the simplest of things, we had about 20 to 30 children accessing, just simply drawing on the floor with chalks, using inspiration from nature, inspiration from things that they found around them. Bear in mind, this was rubbish. Down that embankment was rubbish, but the inspiration the kids found is actual insects that they've seen and found on the day, and you can just see how happy they are there.
And I pick up on a couple of points there, because this is all free, it's all on our doorsteps, you're not paying for any of it, it's basically getting out in nature. There's elements of physical well-being, mental well-being, just to recap on what you just said, and things can seem overwhelming at the moment when it comes to kind of having the money to go out and do things, and getting out in nature is free to do, and there's so many kind of benefits.
The funding was actually called Nature on Your Doorstep.
Oh,
so
fab.
it is about creating access to nature without, and that could be simple things like leaving the grass to grow on verges. So as you're doing your school run in the morning and you're walking past long grass in the mornings that the bees and butterflies are accessing, you're accessing nature but without really consciously accessing it. So all this kind of things that are happening in the background, in and around us, it affects how we feel throughout the day. There's scientific evidence to prove that being in nature brings our heart rate down, it brings our anxiety down, it releases happy hormones. There's science behind that, and I think, like you said, it's we're I think used to a world where we've got to go somewhere, we've got to pay for something, but actually these places are free and they are on our doorstep and they're there for everybody.
So another question now, I'm going to on the spot a little bit. Where can people go to find out? Because we're in Newport at the moment in the Riverfront Theatre. So we're talking about projects that have happened in Newport. Where can people go to find information about this type of stuff that's on their doorsteps?
So you can find that information on the internet on the Wales Biodiversity Partnership website. That will give you information of all the different Wales Biodiversity networks across the whole of Wales. I think there's 25 networks in all, and there will be information on that website about projects that that grant funding is particularly supported. But it is, again, all about accessing nature on your doorstep.
Cool. We'll spend another couple of minutes just having a little wander around, because it's such a cool exhibition, and it's, I think, getting the kind of context behind it as well, and some of the stories from Lucy. yeah, it gives you something to actually go and look at and go and try and find what's on your doorstep as well. So I'm just gonna, is this some more of the art from?
These are poems that have been written by one of our volunteers on the Tumps. So
That's so cute.
But at the beginning of these projects, we didn't think that we were going to be engaging people. It's a nature-based project in creative writing and art, and it's just, you know, that's how it's developed. It's people-led, and that's how people engage with it. This is all rubbish that's been pulled out from the Tubs, but also the Road to Nature. It used to be called the Road to Nowhere, which was another prolific fly-tipping hotspot in Coity in Newport. It was an old dual carriageway that was built initially to service what would have been a factory at the end of the road, but that factory was never built. And then it became a notorious fly-tipping hotspot. So for, 15, 20 years, it was used as a bit of a dumping space, and there's some photographs here.
Has it Lucy over here? Oh my God.
Used to look.
That's unbelievable. Excuse my dodgy camera work a minute. We're doing this like really kind of off the cuff, just on my video phone as a little kind of impromptu podcast. So if it's a bit shaky, apologies.
Yeah. So this is kind of at the start. The local community had campaigned for probably about 7 years, I think, beforehand, to try and get some ownership on this site to get the area cleared up. And it took a very long time.
Oh, wow.
A lot of money.
So that's it on the video there as well?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's unbelievable.
So I think there's about 600 tonnes of rubbish removed and somewhere in the region of 2,000 tyres. I think there were 60 refrigerators. We had various drug factory paraphernalia. And in amongst all this rubbish, we'd go through and have a little look. I remember being taken to the site for the first time by the local community and standing there and being so overwhelmed by what I saw and thinking, I don't know where to start. What do we do? But we start having a little bit of a rummage, and we'd find things like frogs and slow worms and the odd bee kind of buzzing around, and it was really sad to see that wildlife living in amongst this.
So that's the clean-up bit. Did you see the heavy machine? There was massive heavy machinery there then.
I think the whole era took about 3 weeks with massive machinery. All the waste was sorted, so and distributed to various recycling plants. So the company we worked with were amazing in helping us do that. And then we had another day where 120 local volunteers turned up to help us get in the hedgerows and the roadside verges. And we've been working with the volunteers since, really, to develop. As we were clearing it, it became apparent that this is a really special site for nature. And you see all sorts down there, and it's become this little haven, really.
Yeah. Do you find people continue to look after it, and protect it? Like, has there been more fly tipping down there since?
No, so there's been CCTV cameras were installed really early on in this location, and I think I'm right in saying that they prosecuted about 6 different people for fly tipping, and that's CCTV is still in use. It's still on site now, and that's really stopped a lot of fly tipping. But also with the creation of the Friends of the Road to Nature community group, they are there, multiple times a week, picking up, still pulling out, old rubbish from the hedgerows and things like that. And it is, it's going to be a long project. I think we're discovering stuff all the time. But you see the difference now.
Look at that. Wow. That's a massive difference. So it's well worth.
Water bodies here, so it's really great for watching reed warblers. And then we've got right down the bottom here, you've got a reel that runs across. This is access to the ground level, so we know that there's short bee colonies along the ground levels there. So this is a really important site for nature for Newport. The short bee is one of the rarest bees in the UK. I think there's only about 5 existing strongholds in the UK, and Newport is one of them. So we're looking at enhancing the habitat. There's a little meadow at the bottom that we found, and that had about 4 or 5 different types of orchid on it that we would never known was there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's well worth having a look at what is going on out and about in your community, just to kind of get that connection to nature and have a little bit of teamwork with the community. And it's just I just want to have a look at these. Keep talking.
So there's local nature partnership coordinators in all local authorities in Wales, and they are hosted by the local authorities. So even if you contact your local council and ask to be put in contact with your local nature partnership coordinator, they'll be able to point you in the direction of conservation volunteer groups and where you can get out and about with people doing some hands-on green activity.
Yeah.
I think this artwork here, there's a charity called Growing Space that runs a garden project at Tredegar House, and they take referrals from the NHS for people with that are struggling perhaps with mental health problems and perhaps struggling to adapt to living in the community. So supported by Growing Space, they've got this amazing gardening project, and it's just, if you're ever in Tredegar House, make sure you go and see it. It's in the laundry garden, and it's just part of the project that you can see. But it's basically somewhere safe that people can come and work. And I think they have probably about I think it's 80 odd people a week refer to them in various different projects.
That's an amazing number.
Yeah.
But it's like what you were saying about like having a safe space to do things outside in your community with other people.
Yeah.
That's like a massive thing for well-being.
These drawings,
it's huge.
They've come down to the Road to Nature. They've done their own art sessions. Some of these pictures, but all of these pictures are just incredible.
They're incredible.
When you know the individuals that have done these pictures, there's nothing like it. And again, working with Newport Mind as well. I've done a couple of sessions with them. You can see some of the...
There's the little logo. Have a look. It's worth having a look at Mind. Mind do loads of community supported stuff, and they're a really, really good resource for mental health stuff as well.
And something I'm gonna drag you on to this bit here.
Okay.
It's really important. So if you are watching this and you're thinking, okay, so I've got a little bit of a back garden, I want to do something for nature but I'm not sure what, start with hedgehogs.
Yay,
okay,
hedgehogs!
It's a really good place to start. So hedgehogs numbers in Wales have reduced drastically. I think about 30 years ago there was somewhere around 30 million hedgehogs, and now we're down to the last 500,000, maybe 1 million, we're not really sure, and that's just in Wales alone. So Wales is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world, which is shocking.
Wow!
That's a shocking statistic. But there are things you can do.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm digressing a bit now. How is Wales so... Because we've got the highest rate of like recycling and...
Yeah.
So how does that... Has anyone done any work on that, or am I putting you on the spot?
You're probably on the spot, I don't think into that. But it's,
we'll try and find out.
Think, a lot of it is agricultural use on the land and things like that, and which is now, there's more sensitive ways of doing things. But there's a number of reasons for it. It's not just one reason. There's a lot of reasons for it.
And looking around, sorry,
go on.
This is what happens when you do like impromptu podcasts. You're like,
with sisters as well.
Oh yeah, we're sisters. Yeah. I missed that important bit out. But I think like what I notice when I go out and about, and I've noticed a lot recently in my area of Bridgend, the amount of rubbish and crap everywhere compared to like, I don't know, I felt like during lockdown we had this like really clean, like, I don't know, people were making an effort, and just driving up here today.
People weren't going out to drop the litter.
Yeah, there's that in there.
A massive change. But what we did see was an increase in fly tipping. A lot of people did a lot of work on their houses and things like that over COVID. So if you do house clearing stuff, or you're getting an organisation or company in to take your waste, make sure that they've got the correct licences and certificates in place, because you don't want to be finding out that your stuff has been dumped in a reen or down the lane somewhere in your local area, or even next area over. Make sure that it's taken away responsibly.
Top tips. Back to hedgehogs. Go on,
hedgehogs. Back to hedgehogs. So if you have got a little bit of green space, a little bit of a garden, let it grow wild. It doesn't have to be all of it. If you've just got a little bit of your garden to grow wild, I think everybody's so, or has been so set out on having neat things, then we all know nature is not neat. Nature doesn't grow in straight lines and where we want it to. So you've got to just adapt with how you're managing your garden, your green space. Let a little bit go wild. Let the grass grow a little bit longer. Don't cut things down at the end of the season. Wait until the next season, because insects could be overwintering in those spaces. And like I said, you know, hedgehogs are massively on the decline, and they, you know, people just assume that hedgehogs actually go out and they eat slugs and snails. That is not hedgehogs' natural food.
I didn't know that.
Natural food is mostly beetles and caterpillars, and they probably need to find somewhere in the region of 100 caterpillars and beetles per night to be able to feed themselves sustainably. So with the depletion of invertebrates, obviously, the food source for hedgehogs are desperately starving. They will turn to things like slugs and snails because they absolutely have to, and those slugs and snails carry parasites. So what we're seeing a lot at the moment is huge worm burdens in hedgehogs, and that is why a lot of our wild hedgehogs are so poorly, and they're not able to cope with the burden of parasites that they have because they are eating the wrong thing. So if we can start putting more flowers in our gardens, leaving areas grow long, encouraging more insects, that is creating more natural food, the right type of food for hedgehogs, rather than, you know, them having to feed on slugs and snails. You can also substitute their food by using good quality kitten biscuits. So if you use a good quality cat biscuit, you can put that food down. That's absolutely fine for hedgehogs to eat, but more importantly, access to clean water. Everybody always thinks about putting water and food out for the birds, but put it down low. Make sure the hedgehogs have got access to clean water. Make sure it is clean water and it's not just left to gather algae and that sort of thing. But it's absolutely fine to substitute a hedgehog feeder with the right food. No dairy products, no milk and Weetabix like you used to hear in the old days. No mealworms. Mealworms are really bad for hedgehogs. Yeah, they can make them really poorly. It draws out, there's something in it that draws out all the calcium in their bones that makes them really weak and poorly. So no mealworms. Just as much natural food as possible, substituted by cat biscuits. But you can also install a little hedgehog home box. So this is the perfect design for a hedgehog now. Okay, hedgehog home. There are different boxes on the market. This is perfect for all year round. Some of the hedgehog boxes on the market you'll get, and they're okay for sort of perhaps day sleeping, but they're not okay for nesting. So perfect hedgehog box needs to have this sort of tunnel entrance. Sometimes it's built within the box, but the box will need to be a bit bigger. It needs to be made of wood, it needs to be able to breathe. A lot of the new materials are holding condensation, and that's creating a really not very nice environment for the hedgehogs, and that they're suffering with respiratory disease because of the dampness. So it needs to be made of something that can breathe. This has got a felt roof, and inside, give them a good start. We've got loads of hay in there, so the hedgehogs will naturally gather leaves and hay and grass and that sort of thing, and they will absolutely fill the box full. Some of the hedgehog rescues that have been done locally, you'll find the hedgehogs have been making nests out of crisp packets and plastic wrapping and just all sorts of horrible nasties really. So if you're doing work in the garden, don't dispose of that waste. Pile it up, and if a hedgehog's around, it will use it to build its nest. It will take away what it wants. So that's really, really important as well. And you can also create a little bit of a hedgehog highway.
I love these.
This, just a little gap. So something that with hedgehogs, with everybody's so intent on security, as you need to be these days, when we're looking at our gardens, there's no gaps. And that's cut off a hedgehog's foraging ground. So if you just do something really simple in your garden, create a little hedgehog highway. It only needs to be the size of about a CD case, 13 centimetres, and a hedgehog will use it. And that's just helping to link these hedgehogs up with habitat, with food sources. Our gardens are so secure, they can't get into the bugs. So open up your gardens for the hedgehogs. It doesn't need to be big, just cut a little hole in the fence. Or if you can't do that, dig a little hole into your fences and the hedgehogs will use it. But definitely a hedgehog highway is something really simple that you can do. It doesn't cost any money to do, and we can all do that in our gardens.
Do hedgehogs leave any sort of trace? So I don't see hedgehogs. How would I know if a hedgehog has been in my garden?
Poo is a really good start, basically. Nice. So yeah, where there's food, there's poo. If you have got a hedgehog box, something that you might like to do is put just a bowl of water in front of it. The hedgehogs don't mind water at all. They will quite happily paddle through it. But put a white piece of paper, just cut to fit in the tunnel there, and then put a bowl of water in front, and they will walk to the water to go in the tunnel and leave footprints. And then you can match the footprints up to whatever's using the box there.
Yeah, cool. Love that. Top tips. So
there's nothing for de-stressing better than just watching nature in your garden. Like the minute you see a hedgehog in your garden, or you see a certain bird in your garden, or bee or whatever, just take the time to watch it, and you'll feel something inside.
Yeah, I agree. Let me know in the little comments thing when you're watching this, who's got hedgehogs in their garden, and who actually takes the time to sit outside. And if you don't, let us know if you're going to after watching this, and we'll do like a little follow-up. I think what we're planning on doing at some point is we'll do like a proper outside little podcast, and we'll go and actually look at some bits of like real life nature. But I hope this has kind of given you a bit of inspiration, a bit of a maybe like a kick up the bum about getting outside. And if you are feeling a bit kind of disconnected or lonely, or you want to make some new friends, it's giving you some information about how to link in with different community groups where you can like make a difference. And there's safe spaces as well, because they're all run properly. So I think, have we come to the end loop of the exhibition now? Cool. So we can, before we sign off, you all know where to find me. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, lucy.ambiodiversity. So follow my biodiversity Instagram page if you want to, and also on Twitter, lucy.arnold Matthews.
Can I just ask as well, if it's still going? During lockdown, Lucy did garden videos for kids.
Oh yeah.
So have you still got that?
Yes, there is still a YouTube channel. I haven't added anything for a while, but there's a series of activities on there. It's called Back Garden Biodiversity. It's on YouTube, and it is basically every week we did different activities to increase nature in your back gardens while we weren't able to get out in lockdown. And a lot of those videos I still send to schools, and they still do those little activities. So there's things on there like how to make your garden more bee friendly, how to encourage hedgehogs into your garden, that sort of thing. So, Back
Cool.
Garden Biodiversity.
Well, I've really enjoyed that. That was a really informative, good kind of half an hour out. I hope you enjoyed my first kind of walk and talk podcast. We will be doing more of them. It will be a little bit wobbly and the sound might be a bit iffy, but it's real, innit? So that's us signing off.
Bye.
Bye.